Last night, I watched the entire 2020 Oscars ceremony, and let me tell you, I felt like Jack Nicholson at the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but before he gets smothered with a pillow and suffocated. I actually asked my wife last night to smother me with a pillow as well, just to end my pain, but she didn't, unfortunately. Maybe I should have called her fat. The 2020 Oscars happened last night. I watched the show. It was horrible, but we're going to go through everything that won, everything that was a surprise, everything that was a snub. So first off, I'd just like to get started going through the nominations just to refresh our memories on everything that had the most recognition going into the Oscars. So number one, we had Joker, which was on top with 11 nominations. Following that, we had 3 films with 10 nominations. We had The Irishman, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And then right below that, at 6 nominations, we had 4 films: Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, Marriage Story, and Parasite. And then right below that, we had Ford vs. Ferrari with 4 nominations. And then after the ceremony, what ended up on top with the most wins was the international film, shame on me, Parasite, with 4 wins, and that was very crazy. It's an international film. It's of note. We'll talk about that near the middle to end of this video. And then right below Parasite at 3 wins, we had 1917. Right below that with 2 wins, we had movies Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Ford vs. Ferrari. Finally, with 1 award, we had Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, Marriage Story, and then Toy Story 4 winning Best Animated Picture. How fun. Now, as far as the breakdown for all the awards goes, I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't think if I was watching a video, I would want to hear someone go through every single award. I could just read that. That's fine. But I'm just going to go through some of the ones that are most of note. So with that, let's get started. The only technical category that I'm going to go into is cinematography, and that's just because I like that category. Roger Deakins won this award for 1917, and he was completely deserving. He's only won twice, also with Blade Runner 2049 a couple years ago. Also great work done by Roger Deakins. He's been nominated an insane amount of times, and any movie where he is the cinematographer, I just end up loving it. He does great work. Good job, Roger. Next, we have the 2 screenplay categories, both original screenplay and adapted screenplay. For original screenplay, we had Parasite winning this category. Another frontrunner in this category was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I see these both having kind of different great aspects in their screenplays. Quentin Tarantino has a great talent for writing awesome screenplays. He has just such a magnificent way of creating his stories and his scripts specifically. The lines that he gives his characters are incredibly distinct. You know when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie that it is a distinct experience with its characters, and that's what stands out in his films. And then with Parasite, you just had an incredibly original story. It just has this thrill to it, and then also this dark humor aspect as well. These 2 things seem very opposite of each other, but they blend incredibly well in this film, and I understand why this won the award that it did, Best Original Screenplay, and I don't have too many complaints. Would I have liked to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood win? Yes, but I'm fine with how it turned out. And then we also have the Best Adapted Screenplay, and in this category we had Jojo Rabbit, and the other frontrunner in this category was Little Women. I did enjoy Little Women as well. I thought that there were some issues with the structuring of how it kind of has time play out and how it jumps around in the story, but I enjoyed it. But I'm extremely happy that Jojo Rabbit won this category. I'm very happy for Taika Waititi. It's a very interesting way to portray this time in history, and I appreciate that he did it, although, a lot of people came out and were like, this movie's insensitive. It should have been portrayed this way or that way. I wholly disagree. I'm happy that he made it, and I really love Jojo Rabbit, so good work, Taika. And then we had all the acting categories, which truly could have been telegraphed from a mile away. All these people had been winning the awards thus far in all the various award shows, but we'll go through them. We have Laura Dern winning for Best Supporting Actress in the film Marriage Story, and then we have Best Supporting Actor Brad Pitt for his work in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Then Best Actress, we have Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland in the film Judy. And finally, we have Best Actor Joaquin Phoenix for his work playing Arthur Fleck, Joker, in the film Joker. I think that all these awards were pretty spot on to who deserved them. I would have liked to see Scarlett Johansson win Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit. I liked that performance a lot, and I liked it more than Laura Dern's, but I understand why she won that award. And then also we had Renee Zellweger winning for Judy. I've heard that movie is extremely boring, and that's kind of why I haven't seen it yet. I don't really want to pay money to rent or buy the film, but I really enjoyed also Scarlett Johansson's work in Marriage Story. I thought that that was extremely deserving, although I don't love that film. I thought that she's very deserving for the work that she did, but the fact that Renee Zellweger won, I'm not too worried about. And then Joaquin Phoenix. This dude has been nominated a lot. He is extremely deserving. He is one of the best actors working today. His projects are extremely distinct, and all of his characters, they all have a little bit of crazy in them, and he nails that aspect of all of them so well. And I'm very happy that he won the award. Could I have done without the speech? Yes, I think we all could have, Talking about cows' rights just doesn't quite strike a note with most audiences. But he is who he is. He's authentic. I'm not going to judge him too much for it, but he is a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Anyways, we're going to move into the two biggest categories of the night. We have Best Director and Best Picture. And let me tell you something. I had filled out a ballot going into this, and I had only 2 categories wrong going into these last 2, and I thought that my ballot was just great. I thought that my picks were going to win, but boy, was I wrong. First off, for Best Director, what I had thought was going to win was Sam Mendes for his work in 1917, not only because I personally thought he was the most deserving out of the lineup of great directors. All of these people deserve to be recognized, and they were recognized. I'm happy about that. I think that Sam Mendes was the most deserving of this award just because all the things behind 1917 just technically had to be put together perfectly by Sam Mendes, and every time someone got up to accept an award in the Academy Awards, it just pumped up my thoughts that this dude did put in so much work, and I feel like he's just getting a ridiculous amount of praise, not just because he's a nice guy and, we're so happy that he gave us work to do in this film, but they were just endlessly praising all the work that he did to create this extraordinary film, and I thought this is a good indicator of who's going to win Best Director, but unfortunately, he didn't win. I'm not sad that Bong Joon-ho won because I don't like Bong Joon-ho. He seems like a really nice guy, extremely humble, and I'm happy that he got recognized in this way, but I do think that these awards should be based on merit, and based on merit, I think Sam Mendes deserved it more. After they had announced Best Director, my heart was in limbo. I thought, oh no, is this actually going to happen? Are both of my picks for the Best Director and also Best Picture, are they going to be completely wrong together? And I was like, yeah, I think it's going to happen. And then we get to Best Picture. And then we had the person walk out with the envelope, take a minute to read the thing, and she said, Parasite wins Best Picture. And my heart just hit the floor. I was crushed. I had my hopes set on 1917 winning Best Picture. And let me tell you something. I actually don't have a great relationship with the Oscars. I actually despise the Oscars. Not just because I hate people getting up on the microphone and lecturing me for 3 hours. And in fact, I don't watch the award show because of that. I care about who wins the awards because I think that it's a good thing to recognize films based on merit, and I hope that the best movies win the awards. With this, it just brought that back into question all over again, like so many years in the past. Now, before we get too far, I do want to say I really do like the movie Parasite. I enjoyed it a lot, and if you go back and watch my review, I gave it my highest score, Masterpiece, and I think it's a near flawless film. I liked it a lot, but I do think that there are just some things that hold it back. First off, the obvious one being it's a foreign film. Sorry, international film. Foreign's a naughty word. But that's the crazy thing. They elevated the movie Parasite in the lists of nominees because it was a foreign film. And that's not offensive for the same reason that they are going to be touting themselves and patting themselves on the back for recognizing a film that was not made in the United States. That's the same thing as calling a film foreign. It's like you guys are celebrating what you did was recognize a different kind of movie. It's like there's no difference between those two words and what you guys are celebrating. And the other thing that frustrates me about Parasite winning Best Picture is that not very many people went to go see this film. I will admit that for a foreign film, a ton of people went to go see it, and that's of note, and I think that that should be celebrated. But in this lineup of nominees for Best Picture, it doesn't even come close to the box office numbers of the other films. Now, I don't think that this should just be a popularity contest and whichever movie makes the most money should win the award. I'm not saying that, because if that was the case, then MCU movies and Fast and Furious movies would just rule the Oscars, and that would just be stupid, because it should be based on merit and not just how much money it makes. But I also do think that it's kind of stupid to be giving your highest achievement of awards to films that only you and like your closest relative have even seen, but everyone else outside of that just like hasn't seen it. So I'm just going to walk through some of the box office numbers really quick, not get too boring, but I just want to show you guys kind of the divide here between the people who vote for Best Picture and the people who watch these movies. So as far as the domestic box office goes, this is just money that was made inside of the United States for all these films being in theaters. So on the top of these nominees, we had Joker at $335 million, Once Upon a Time in second with about half of that, $142 million, then 1917 with $132 million, Ford vs. Ferrari, $116 million, Little Women at $102 million, and then Parasite at $35 million. That's of note for a foreign film. I understand that, and it should be clear as day about what kind of stories people actually want to see, the kind of things that people care about. And let's be honest, Parasite has a tall hill to climb because it is a foreign film and it doesn't have the Hollywood effect of having big, movie stars in it that people go to the movies to see. And then it also has the subtitle problem. And I don't see these things as being completely negative. If an American movie goes to South Korea, it's going to have South Korean subtitles as well. It's just the fact of the world. People speak different languages. You have to read in your language so you can understand what's going on. And if you have to read for the majority of the film, that's taking away a little bit from enjoying the rest of the movie because you can't pay attention to everything as closely. And that's just a fact. So I think that it kind of also falls in the same boat as The Irishman does, where The Irishman didn't draw as many people because it has a 3.5-hour runtime. Now, we don't know the numbers for The Irishman and Marriage Story because they're Netflix films. You don't have to pay for a ticket to see the movie, so we can't really compare those the same. But I tried to recommend The Irishman to a lot of people, and I felt like a lot of people saying like, ooh and ahhing, like that 3.5-hour runtime doesn't really, work with my vibes of like what I want to do during my day. And I'm like, I understand that. Just in the same way I understand that Parasite has the same problem. Not everyone wants to sit down for 2 hours and read a movie. I get it. So I think that these two films are very similar in that way. Now, what the Academy was saying is we want to recognize international films. They want to recognize movies from all different places and movies that are seen by everyone across the world. So let's take a look at international box office really quick, the worldwide gross. On top, we have Joker, again, with $1 billion. Insane number, $1 billion. And then below that, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with about a third of that, with $374 million. Then we have 1917, $250 million. Ford vs. Ferrari, $223 million. Little Women, $177 million. Then we have Parasite coming in sixth place, also not counting Irishman and Marriage Story, remember that. But we have Parasite coming in at $165 million. It's pretty much the same statistic. More people care about films like The Joker and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or 1917 than they do about Parasite. Not bagging on Parasite as a film. I appreciate the film, but this is just how it is. People want to see different movies, and the fact that the people in the Academy and Hollywood just has this grave disconnect between what they want to see, lifted up because of their own agendas and their own ways of how they want to make themselves feel good about, guess what I did today, Mommy? I promoted some people of a different race than me because that makes me feel good. It's like, that's just patronizing. It's the same reason that Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture. That movie had no business being in that lineup of films. Is it a horrible movie? No. Is it Best Picture worthy? Not even close. It's not even the best MCU film, and I don't think any MCU film should be nominated for Best Picture. That's just my opinion, but it just doesn't make sense. They're patronizing people because of their race, which is in fact racist. It is giving people a higher standard, or giving people a lower standard because of their race. That is patronizing, and it is very, demeaning to that people group. I think it's ridiculous. I love Parasite. I want to stress that. But I think that it's patronizing and demeaning to Asian and South Korean people to say we want to give you an award because we want you to be our friend. And it's just very stupid. That's how I feel about this award season, this 2020 awards. I was actually extremely happy with the nominees that we had gotten. I love most of these movies. The only one exception is Marriage Story. Not a huge fan, but all the other ones I was extremely happy, and that's different from other years. That's probably why I put so much hope and faith into this year's winners and this award season. But unfortunately, I gave too much hope and faith into the system of the Academy. They ripped my heart out yet again, and I will never be the same. I will never love again. So those are my thoughts on the 2020 Oscars. If you agree with me or if you disagree with me but appreciate my passion, I would appreciate it if you gave me a like on this video. That would be great. Also, if you could press the notification, the subscribe buttons down below, you'll be notified of my new content. Or if you don't have a YouTube account, a great option is to follow me on Instagram at Jared Gilster. I post on there also when I release a new video. Don't drown you guys with it, but I just... friendly reminder, if you want to go check out my latest review, check it out on YouTube. So that's a good option. But until next time, until the next video, until the next rant, I'll just see you guys later.